This third tutorial is going to focus on the attachment, attaching the lamp head to the main body of the lamp, so the stem's coming down. So we're just going to form this little attachment here using a few extrudes and fillets, so nothing too complicated, I would hope. We're going to do it on sketch 1, start a new sketch, on plane 1, sorry, not sketch 1, and we're going to view it from the front, which is in line with that plane. I'm going to create a bar that extrudes into that 6mm hole. So I'm going to draw the circle, making sure that you see the dotted line appear when you start, and then dimension it as 6mm as well. I'm just going to dimension as well the center of that hole to the floor of the lamp, and if we remember originally we set that at 70, so it's going to line up perfectly. Then we know that's lining up, so we can look at it in a 3D view, finish that sketch, extrude it, and I'm going to actually start to look at it from the left when I do the extrude, and I'm going to change my view to hidden edges visible, because I want this now to go in line with this grey line, so to the inside of the bulb holder. That's my limit, I don't want to go past that. And you can see where the nut holder is, so I can come just to the edge of the nut holder. The face I'm extruding is sketch 6. I want this to be a new part, so it's a completely separate attachment, and I need it to be coming this way. So if I pull it roughly to where I want it to finish, you can see that that's saying 37.9 at the moment. I'm just going to make that 40 and hit enter. Now 40 looks a good length to me. Happy with that. I'm going to click tick, change it back to shaded, and I'm going to zoom out a little bit, and so you can see the bar is starting to form already. That's going to attach at the top of our lamp. We need a part for this to pivot on. So on the right work plane, I'm going to start a new sketch, and it's just going to be a square. Let's look at it directly. Square on. Draw your square just roughly in the correct position. Then we'll start to dimension. So the height of it is going to be 20, as is the width, otherwise it wouldn't be a square. To get it lined up now, I'm going to make sure that that line and the edge of the cylinder are 0, so they're touching, and then the height as well, we need to make it so it's central to it. So we're going to dimension from our origin, from the base. We know the centre of the cylinder is 60. If a square is 20, from the centre to the bottom is 10, so it's 60, take away your 10, is just going to give you, or 70, take away your 10, is giving you your answer that you need in there. So that's just going to be 60mm, and that's positioned exactly where I want it. So if I look at that in 3D now, I've finished the sketch, it's in the centre, it's all looking good. So extrude, tell it that I want to extrude the square, and I'm just going to change blind to symmetric, so it's going either side of the work plane, and we don't want it too thick, we're just going to maybe make that 10mm in total. So it's a decent chunk to create the pivot from, and I can finish that there. So I'm clicking tick, and that will generate. Final few parts to make this look a bit more realistic are just the fillets. So using the fillet option, which is just the round option, we're going to fillet the 4 corners of our shape. Just rotate so you can see the 4th, and that's just going to be 5mm. Mine's defaulted to 5, but just double check yours. Click tick. The final one, this is going to be welded into position, so that would leave you with a tiny little fillet around that edge. So I'm going to fillet that little part, and I'm just going to make that 1mm and hit enter, and it adds to that sense of realism for the lamp that we're creating. So you see it looks quite interesting now as that's generated, and we're starting to see this bar. As we said, it's going to be a pivot, so we want a hole in the centre. Click on the surface, sketch, and we're going to put a circle in there. View it square on, so it makes it a bit easier. Draw your circle. We're going to stick to that standard 6mm hole that we've got lots of bolts to fit, and then we're going to distance it to make it in the centre. We want to wait until that's square on, not at an angle. We don't want to measure it from an angle, that just doesn't make sense. want it in the centre, so we're going 10 from the bottom edge, and at the same time 10 from the right hand edge. Once that's done, all you need to do is finish that sketch and extrude that through the surfaces to create the final part of the pivot. Just change blind to through all, select the circle and click tick, and we're done. So we've got that hole going all the way through the pivot, and now we've got our 3 parts in the parts list. Good practice now is just to rename the parts, so we know that the first one was the lampshade, second one was the bulb holder, and the third and final one is the stand mount. Okay, and you can call them anything you want really, it's just something that's much easier when you look back than part 1, 2 and 3. If I was being really strict, I would also rename the extrudes and everything there, so if I need to go back and make any amendments, it's very easy to see. Good luck.